Hey, what up on cut day? That means football season is like a step closer. Welcome inside Kicking It with Kunkel. We got some questions flowing in already. We're going to look at the rosters. What do you like? What do you dislike? What would you have done? And then I'll, of course, give you my opinions as I always do. In the meantime, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all being here. So without further ado, let's get into it. And here are the quarterbacks, the running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and offensive line. That's called the offense. So my number one takeaway on this is I put this out on X. Love the fact that Graham Mertz made it. Why? Because I thought he had a good camp. I had a good evaluation on him. I thought he was better than Slovis. So this makes me look good. This makes me feel good. This is about me. So shout out to Graham Mertz on making the initial 53-man roster. That's another thing, guys. This is all going to change. This is not the final 53 by week one. They're going to be changed likely, even maybe tonight. Like, who knows when Cam Robinson gets dealt, if he gets dealt, and how that situation plays out. But this is not going to be the final 53-man roster. Hence, it says up top, the initial 53-man roster. Obviously, no other surprises in the quarterback room, but super glad to see Graham Mertz there. I thought he had a bad statistical game against the Vikings, but he was better than what the stats showed. Those 3 interceptions were not all his fault. He had to take a little bit of blame on especially the final one, the ball that was tipped. But the other 2, I think, were more on the wide receivers than on Mertz. Now, if Mertz sees the field in the regular season, we're in a really bad situation. So it's not like I think he's going to be some great quarterback. I just think he earned the spot on the 53-man. We'll see what happens with him going further. Running backs, obviously, no Joe Mixon. This has been baked into my predictions of the Texans months ago. I didn't think, about a month ago, I started to believe that he wasn't going to be ready for the start of the season. We haven't seen him anywhere. We haven't seen him on the practice field. We haven't seen him at training camp. We haven't seen him in the building. We have not seen him anywhere. Doesn't mean he hasn't been around. People have said he's been around. We haven't seen him. Usually, when you're getting close or when you are active enough, you're on the sideline working out at training camp with some of the guys. Like, we've seen Christian Harris. So we've been optimistic about Christian Harris. And of course, then we saw him in games. We saw him start to ramp up. And now here we go with him, but nothing from Joe. So at no point did I ever think that Joe Mixon was going to be ready to play. I knew that he was going to miss about a month going into the season. And that's where he is now. He can't play the first month of the year. And even that sounds like it's a bit optimistic at this point, but there is no timetable, just because that's the way the Texans operate. They're so secretive with their information and their injuries. I don't know that they have to be. I understand why they are. I just don't think it's overly necessary, frankly. But with the running backs, one final note on Joe. Here's how I approached him with fantasy. I drafted him in one of my leagues. I drafted him super late, like big opportunity late in the season for him to come on. You can stash him on your roster if you have enough bench spots. Like, one of my leagues has way too many bench spots. I hate it, but it is what it is. So I used it. I took Joe. Other than that, I'm not touching anybody in the running backs room from a fantasy standpoint. Nick Chubb, Woody Marks, Dameon Pierce. Little surprise with Dameon Pierce, maybe, and Burdish Brooks both making. I thought maybe one of those 2 would make the roster, not both of them. But I don't know that any of them are going to crack the 700-yard mark on the season, because you think Joe's going to come back at one point. So I don't know what to expect out of that room. Certainly nothing fantasy-wise, but I do think that it's a decent room for a offense that I think can be able to run the ball successfully. And I say that because we saw the offensive line want to be physical and move bodies in the preseason. They created holes for Nick Chubb, for Darian Gumbawale in particular, on that Vikings first drive. So I've liked what I've seen from the offensive line in order to allow that running back room to have some success. Now, they're going to have to piece it together. They do not have a bell cow, at least not as of now. Maybe Nick Chubb has it in him. I don't know. I waited to have judgment on Nick Chubb to see if he was any good and if he had explosiveness and if he still had that physicality until we saw him in the game, because I don't think it was fair to judge Chubb in training camp. He's not a training camp running back. There's other guys that pop during training camp because they're quick and they're fast and they're agile and they can show that explosion. Nick Chubb is a dude that plays downhill behind his pads and likes to break tackles. That's how good he is, and that's where he's good. So with this, I'm most intrigued about Woody Marks. I love the way that I think he could be a touchdown vulture, maybe a little bit later in the season. I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of touches to start just because he hasn't done it before. And you got to earn that trust from the coaching staff. Nick's been there, Damian's been there, Dari's been there. So those three guys are going to get the bulk of the carries, I would think, early on. Maybe not Dari, but he certainly has got the trust of the coaching staff that he can hold on to the rock, he can pick up the blitz, and he can do his job well. Woody Mark's got to prove it. British Brooks, obviously coming off an injury, he's got to prove it as well. But I think Woody Marks brings an intrigue that he can hit that pylon sideline to sideline inside the red zone. He can also be physical and run the ball up the gut on the goal line. So I think he has the potential to be a touchdown vulture, at least a little bit later in the season once he earns the trust from the coaches. Dameon Pierce, I really want to see him in this running game because last year it was not built for him. It was not a good offense for him, clearly. He likes to get the ball, hit the hole, and just go. That's why he was so good on kick return. I think he's a good dude in the locker room as well. I don't think that's why they kept him by any stretch, but maybe in this running game, in this scheme, he can get that ball, hit the hole, and just go. Darian Gumbawale, just extremely trustworthy. And I know that people laugh at the fact that he hit that field goal in the kickoff later in that season. What was it? Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? Starting to run together. But that is extremely valuable. He is an elite football player. He doesn't do anything really, really, really well. He's not elite at anything, but he does everything well enough to have position versatility all over. He can catch the ball. He can run the ball as a running back. He can block. He can tackle. He can kick. He does all of it. He does everything. So to have someone like that, a Swiss Army knife, it's a lazy term, but it is what it is, on your roster is invaluable. You can use him anywhere and everywhere. British Brooks, they obviously like him. They kept him last year. He wasn't expected to be kept coming out of North Carolina, suffered a devastating knee injury. Obviously, the coaching staff and the powers that be like British Brooks, so I'm excited to see more from him. Wide receivers, obviously, Nico, Christian, the two rookies were going to make it. I said Braxton Berrios because of what he brought from a little bit more of a veteran standpoint and what he did as a special teamer was going to make this. Xavier Hutchinson clearly getting run with the ones, and Jalen Noel, I mentioned him. Justin Watson was my surprise. Very surprised to see him there and kind of how they finagled that. I think right now Xavier Hutchinson is wide receiver 3. I think Jaden Higgins is on his heels. I don't think Xavier Hutchinson has the ability to make that explosive big play consistently. He might make them here and there. I just don't know that he's going to do it all the time. I think once Jaden Higgins starts to catch up and get some reps and ramp up a little bit, that's going to be Jaden Higgins, wide receiver 3. And I think the ceiling for him is significantly higher than Xavier Hutchinson. I just think X right now is ahead of where Jaden Higgins is, and it might not even be that close. I think Jaden Higgins is right on his heels. While I got you, like the video, please. It helps the algorithm. And also, please subscribe to the channel. Love talking to y'all. Tight ends, Dalton Schultz, Kate Stover, no-brainer. I wonder if Brevin Jordan, if he was healthy, if Justin Watson would have made it. I don't know if that's where you would have made the change or if British Brooks would have made it. But I don't know. Someone on X, I can't remember who it was, said they wanted one tight end. You can't have one tight end. If you go down a tight end, it's like having two catchers. You got to have two catchers at all times. Not that they're the same type of position, but you got to at least have a backup. And you can run two tight end sets, near the goal line. You got to have two tight ends. I think they would have kept 3 tight ends if Brevin Jordan was healthy. Is this the new one? No. So then I drink it anyway. This is the new one, cold. Love Pellegrino. Offensive line, I don't think there's any surprises there. Just so far that Cam Robinson is still on the roster. I think the people I've been talking to saying that those talks of him being traded are ramping up right now, which is huge for Ariante Ursary. He's getting a whole lot of love. Now maybe we can stop talking about Nick Caserio not being able and the scouting department not being able to figure out offensive linemen. Not that it's been invalid. It's been very valid. It's just maybe we can stop having that conversation, at least a little bit less. All right, so with the offense, I also want to say this about the offensive line, and I'll probably do a video next week more in depth to this. The offensive line for the Texans might be the most critical the offensive line for the Texans might be the most important group of any team competing for a Super Bowl in the NFL. Because if they figure it out, holy crap. And if they don't, all right, 9 wins, 10 wins, early exit. But if they figure it out, the sky's the limit for this offense, and then they can start doing some stuff. Right now, it is a Run the ball. Just please protect CJ. Let's try to figure this thing out and let the defense do its thing. If the offensive line figures this thing out, Lord knows what's going to happen. All right, let's get into some of your questions and some of your statements because I love talking to y'all. And then we'll get over to the defense. All right. Are you surprised that Miles Bryant was cut? We'll get to that in a second. Short answer, yes. Do you know anything about Mixon? Did he have a setback? He had a setback when he was doing his rehab. It was a little bit while ago at this point, but still clearly a setback larger than maybe I thought initially, but still a setback nonetheless to where he's definitely not close to playing and he's going to miss the month of the season. Last time we saw Mixon is when Tank posted a video of him in the treatment. Yeah, right. So we've seen him in the regards to social media. We've seen that he's been in the building, but that's just not where guys are when they're close to playing or even in the consideration of playing. They're on the sideline working out. They're doing things. They're stretching. They're lifting in the bubble. Like there's 1,000 things that they could be doing to where we can kind of see them, and it's not for our benefit. It's just kind of part of the process that says they're close. They're just nowhere close. Caserio should trade for a great tight end. Who? Like what great tight end and what are you giving up? I think the tight end room right now, with the way that the offensive scheme is coming along, is okay. I'm okay with Dalton Schultz and Cade Stover right now. I think there's some boom possibility in Cade Stover, and I think Dalton Schultz is going to be held accountable to the point that he's got somebody behind him that if he doesn't block and he doesn't do his thing, that he's going to be on the bench and his reps are going to drop significantly and the snap count of Cade Stover will increase. So I like where they are. Yeah, they can be better. Like there's nothing proven there. The whole offense is not proven. Nobody has proven anything on that offense. CJ Stroud proved that he could do it 1 year. He proved that he's good enough to survive a really crappy year for other reasons, but still you got to hold him accountable for that offense, at least to a degree. There is nothing that is proven outside. And then there's Nico Collins, of course. So trading for a great tight end, you're just going to have to give up way too much for what you're going to get back in return. And I don't know who you're talking about is great. Like, who's great that you can trade for? Great's a big one. Yeah, I think they're going to keep 2 QBs, Joseph. I don't know how and why you would keep 3. I assume Mertz goes to the practice squad. There's no reason not to have him there and to keep up another one. You misunderstood me. I said I would have. Oh, so it was you, Cassia. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure, though. You misunderstood me. I said I would have kept one more tight end, not one tight end. Oh, wow. My apologies, Cassia. You are correct. I don't know who they would have taken. I guess the kid from the Eagles. Like clearly, they had no intention of keeping him when they made that trade because I thought he was going to be on there. I thought they had thought something positive from him. So for him to not to be there, clearly not. I'm surprised we only kept 2 unless they think Irv Smith is coming back soon. I think he is. I think that's the word, is that Irv will be back eventually and that they'll be okay. And maybe that's why they kept British Brooks. I don't know. Like they did this dumbass thing last year where they tried to have Cade Stover play fullback. They tried to have Brevin play fullback and tried to like they got rid of Beck. What was it? Andrew Beck? Yeah. I thought that was a really dumb decision by a group that usually makes some really smart decisions. So I didn't love that. Tangents. Sub. Damn it, Bobby. Yes. Hey, Traveler. You guys having a side conversation? Are y'all listening right now? You taking notes? Damn. All right, let's do defense. Move this thing along. Defensive line. Just so many bodies. I heard somebody, I'm not going to say who, but someone on the radio was talking about Falorenzo Futakasi maybe not making this roster. And I was like, bro, stop. Danico Autry was the one that was curious because of his potential, what he's done in this league. He's a veteran, but I'm not surprised at all that he did not make the roster. Just there's a lot of guys that have done some things in this system, as Autry did, but they don't need to have him in there. Like Tim Settle Jr., Mario Edwards, Derek Barnett, Dylan Horton, Futakasi, Sheldon Rakins, Tommy Togai, Daniil Hunter, Daryl Tyron, Will Anderson. D'Amico Ryan loves to just rotate his boys up front. Like you don't see Daniil and Will on the field every single down. He really kind of saves them and gives them the best opportunity to have success to make plays, splash plays, game-changing, game-wrecking plays a lot. I think you might see Will out there more because he beefed up and he's going to be even a better run stopper this year than last year. I also think that he is not a dark horse, but I think he's going to make a massive leap this year that puts him in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. What I need from WAJ, though, is not the pressures. I need sacks. And then even more than that, I don't need the sacks. I want the sacks, so I got to get the sacks, but then strip sacks and then scoop and scores. Like the TJ Watt, Myles Garrett game-wrecking type of plays. And why do I say that? Is because he's that type of dude. Like he's that kind of player that can make that kind of impact. So no more just getting there and getting this close and like, hey, D'Amico Ryan says pressures are good, pressures are important. Those can lead to interceptions. That speeds up the quarterback. Yeah, I got it. That's not what you're paying Willie Anderson to do. Other guys can get pressures. You're paying him to change the game and make game-winning plays, especially down the stretch. Do you think another team takes Arnett or he comes back on the practice squad? Man, that's a really good question, Cassie. And I think it's a really good question because I'm sure he's been crossed off on a handful of boards simply because of his character issues out on the field. Like he was arrested several times, didn't make it with the Raiders, didn't make it with the Chiefs, was banned from the UFL until he got his mind right, went to the Roughnecks, and now he's here. And for all y'all that haven't seen the conversation that I had with him, it's really worth a watch. Maybe he just pulled the wool over my eyes and fooled me and put on a good show. But it was a good conversation. I thought he was open and transparent as much as you can be in a 15-minute talk, but less than that. But like good. And I hope he makes it. I hope he does. But right. And I say maybe he makes the practice squad for the Texans because they've gotten to know him. And if they like what they saw on the field and off the field, then they can bring him back because there's some trust there. The other teams are like, no, like we're good. We can find, a practice squad corner anywhere. We don't have to deal with the question marks off the field. So if the Texans liked him, I think the favorite is for him to return simply because of familiarity and some trust. Linebackers, Azeez Al-Shaair, Jake Hansen, Henry To'o, EJ Speed, Christian Harris, and Jamal Hill. Having Christian Harris is an absolute game changer because he can play sideline to sideline. Jalen Petrie is also in that conversation despite being in the secondary. But Christian Harris can go sideline to sideline. Henry To'o and Azeez are much more, north-south type running backs. They don't keep up with guys in the slot. Christian Harris can do that. I think that the Texans have a better chance. I don't know if they win against the Chiefs in the playoffs, but that's certainly a better chance that they have Christian Harris against Travis Kelce on those big plays that he had. Defensive backs, Kalen Bullock, dude, watch for this guy to have 5 interceptions this year. I think he's just a ball hawk. He's going to be around. I think he gets tipped balls, and he's going to reel a couple in off guys that are in tight lockdown coverage. That quarterbacks try to force it in. It's knocked away, and Kalen's just like, boom, cake, easy interception. CJ obviously on the roster despite the wrong report a couple weeks ago of him tearing his ACL. Great news for the Texans. I'm obviously very surprised that Miles Bryant, I thought he made enough plays. Obviously, they like MJ Stewart back there. So, okay. And Jalen Smith coming back. Not coming back, but he'll be back there. So, and Austin Brinkman, long snapper. Good to see him back as well. So, the one thing I not worry about, but I thought we had going in was maybe Jimmy Ward and CJ. I don't know how far CD is from coming back, but I liked the ability of D'Amico Ryans being able to put his safeties where they're best. So you can use Jalen Petrie as more of a pawn or a queen and put him anywhere you want. Keep him out of man-on-man and more zone and not having to guard the slot receiver and man-on-man as much and kind of hedge your bet on that a little bit. Safety being thin worries me, especially being Petrie banged up the past 2 years. Nickel V, the bull bash. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. I just thought we had a luxury there. So I'm not really worried. Like, no team is perfect. I think this defense is as close to it as you're going to see in the NFL. Most surprising roster move to me, I think the Miles Bryant one, but I think the fact that they kept on the wide receiver room, I think the fact that they kept Justin Watson. I mean, I really just frankly wrote him off, thought there's no way. So I think I'm very surprised there. I wonder why, or if there's another shoe to drop. Kind of see how that figures out. But two tight ends doesn't surprise me now. It surprised me they didn't keep the kid from Philly. But I'd be shocked if they start the season with 2 tight ends. Like, shocked to your point, Cassie. I would be very surprised. Which, by the way, I would still want to do the Reddit thing. I still want to do the Reddit answer. Had a very, very busy weekend, even more busy, which I'll make an announcement later. It was a really fun, cool weekend. Do we get long snapper situation settled? Yes. Austin Brickman will be the long snapper. So we're good there. We're good in that room. I expect the special teams to have a significantly better season this year than they did last year. If you all have questions, Mertz Strange, I like the fact that Mertz made it. I think he ends up with a practice squad, though. Like the video, guys. Subscribe to the channel. I appreciate y'all tuning in. I got to get off of here now. It'll live on, so share it with your friends and let me know what you guys think and make comments down below. I always circle back and look at what people say because I love having the back and forth. Last one, the Bull Bash. Cutting Jacob Johnson in a 2. Could we see Fisher as 3 tight end on goal line? I guess. I don't know. I don't know if they would do that. I don't know that he's that kind of like physical guy. Like I don't think so. But I guess, like, what the hell? Well, I don't think so. All right, that's gonna do it for y'all. I appreciate you guys chiming in. Like, subscribe, comment. Peace. No, I didn't do it yet. It's the other end.